Hello and welcome to Cloudforest Vibes. My name's Bobby, and this is how I grow orchids and carnivorous plants. Hello and welcome to Cloudforest Vibes. So today's video, I have an update video for you on mainly my Spiderfarmer SF-300 grow light, and we're going to look at some blooms and stuff in the tank and do a little bit of an update there while we're looking at the Spiderfarmer, because it just makes sense. So that's my plan, and we are going to go ahead and start by raising this thing up and taking a nice look at this light, because it really has been pretty awesome so far. I have been really happy with it. Again, this is the Spiderfarmer SF-300 LED grow light. I got it off their Amazon store, which I have thrown a link and all the links for Spiderfarmer into the description of this video. That way you guys can check them out yourselves if you feel so inclined. I highly recommend it. Again, this light has been very powerful. Very good cost-effective light. It's lightweight, and so far it is withstanding everything it needs to. So having that said, you can look at the light all you want, but the proof is in the plants, as I like to say. So I'm going to go ahead and get this camera off of here and continue to discuss the light a little bit and my first month with it and everything I've been going through and not going through, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to give you my true, honest opinion, and we're going to go from there. So first things first is getting this camera off the tripod, so excuse me, and we will do just that. So I believe I've learned my lesson, I will say, from my last video in the tank where I was way too close. I have moved the fan bar really close, so if I stick the camera just inside, it sounds like it's in gale force winds, and that is not a good thing. I had to edit quite a bit of that video and get rid of that, so a lot of close-ups are going to have to be about this close for now, unless I pull plants out or anything like that, but hopefully this will do. So for certain I'm going to have to pull one of the first plants I need to talk about out, but I figured we would take a nice look at these three plants before I do. This is my little Dendrobium Cuthbertsonii collection that I'm starting to amass, and they are all doing really well. This one, the Dendrobium Gaetan Minette, has absolutely knocked my socks off, and that is the one that we're going to take out in just a second and look at, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it now. But our Dendrobium Cuthbertsonii Red has its beautiful 4 blooms on, looking lovely, and this Dendrobium Mountain Magic White is worth a closer look. So let me get this thing out in the Aphanechiolum, and I will be back with you in just a moment. So here's a nice close look at this Dendrobium Mountain Magic White, and I just love this little plant. It's great. I wish I had it in the tank right now because it just sparkles. It's a beautifully creamy white, kind of greeny tinged bloom, and it's got this little bit of purple deep down in that throat. It is just amazing. Really is. Really nice little plant. Happy I picked this guy up off of the Tarzane folks. And the next one is this amazing Aphanechiolum. Again, this was a Tarzane plant as well. It just keeps blooming and blooming and blooming and blooming and budding. I mean, it's a very strong plant, to say the least. I really do enjoy it. But something I wanted to discuss involving this plant is this. If you look at these leaves up top, that, my friends, is anthocyanin. This got so much darn light, it started to turn purple. You can see some of the leaves are actually suntanned where they've been shaded by the other ones, where it's a nice green color in the back and this purpley color here. So having that said, one thing that I did notice about this light, it is extremely powerful. Very powerful. So something I've done, I've thrown a little bit of shade cloth on the top of the tank. I know it sounds crazy because I'm using a artificial fixture, LED fixture to provide sun instead of actual sun, but I do use shade cloth often. What it does, if you look at my hand here in the tank, is it puts a definite shade line. You still get lots and lots of bright light from the light without having to jack it up too high and lose all the light to the plants down in the depths, but you have a prominent shade line. So what I've done in effect by doing that, all these plants that sit really high in the back of my tank, they have their own little area now. Very, very, very bright shade. That is what I consider that. So again, if you look, it's definitely bright. You know, the light here is very bright. It is only about 12 inches or so underneath that grow light, but you can tell a definite difference when I move my hand out directly under the grow light where there is no shade cloth. So I've got plants that are in that section, shading plants that don't want to be as bright, on top of all my shade lovers, and I've moved some stuff around back here to get stuff that wants more light up and high so it can have more light. But I was getting some, you know, overlight issues, not too bad, but I did solve it with that. So if you've ever been worried about one of these fixtures being powerful enough, between the Dendrobium Gaytan Manette and my poor little Lepanthes telepogoniflora here with all of its purpley leaves now, you should be able to tell. So having all that said, it is a bit of a challenge finding a good balance. My tank is approximately 4 feet tall, so if you go by the lighting specs on the light, you're going to say 4 feet is way too far for that light. You would be right in some cases, of course, depending upon what you're growing, but in the orchid world, we all know that not all orchids need a whole lot of light. Draculas, Restrepias, a lot of pleurothalids, bulbophyllums, things like that, pretty much grow in the dark. Not really, but I mean, you can grow them in very, very deep shade and they will be happy, they will still bloom, they will still thrive. And you can always, like I said, use larger plants that like more light to shade plants that don't like as much light, like our Lepanthes gargoyla, which does naturally have some pretty purple leaves, but that right there is a bit too purple. So I'm trying to scale back the light to some of the Lepanthes. The Caladicdion has gone purple in places. The Sherry Brideyham down here, she has also gone purple in places. And yeah, so lighting is not an issue anymore. I've got ample light. I am actually trying to figure out how to make sure things stay happy that don't want quite so much light. So anybody who is interested in these fixtures and again worried about potentially not having enough light, do not worry. So looking around again, as I've shown you, the telepogoniflora here is absolutely a powerhouse right now. I don't know if you can see all those bloom spikes and buds and everything to come, but it should be a really awesome month in the telepogoniflora world. It does like highlight, but it did get just a touch carried away. So I've moved it down a couple inches and I have put it in my little shade line section along with some of the other Lepanthes. They've all gotten rearranged just a little bit. Again, some of them are just getting a touch too much light. You see back there the Sherry Brideyham. This leaf should not be that dark. So I will say it does seem that all this light has really invoked a lot of blooming and a lot of growth. The Caladicdion, again, though it might be, you know, just shy of scorched on a couple leaves, it's got more new growths coming up than I have pretty much ever seen it push at one point in time before. So though it may be a drawback, may make us worry a little bit of anthocyanin, I will say when you start to introduce more light and play with your light levels with your orchids, you really will find they react quite quickly, and you will find some of them might actually grow quite a bit happier, quite a bit better. I know in the case of a lot of bulbophyllums for myself, I was really scared to give them a lot of light at first. I was really scared to grow them anything close to bare rooted or let them dry out at all. And since I've started doing that, especially with these two here, this is Bulbophyllum Pumilio or Ceropetalum Pumilio, and this is Bulbophyllum Odontopetalum. I have both of them bare rooted, both of them growing in relatively high light now. And I'll tell you what, this one struggled its whole life with me. It was on its absolute last legs. And now, as you see, it's got 3 or 4 new directions of growth, and it is just going mad. So I'm really hoping we turn that one around. It looks like we did. And the Pomilio has already pushed out 2 new full-size growths this season. It's got 2 more coming and lots of new roots. So the proof is in the pudding. The growths are back up to about the size when I bought it, from being a rootless rescue not too long ago. Last thing that we're going to look at, and another thing that I'm just super thrilled about, and also to me shows lots and lots of progress and help with this awesome new grow light, is my Bulbophyllum speciosum. This plant here is extremely special, and beyond having yet another bloom opening, it's got at least, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 more spikes, including the 2 that you're seeing here well advanced, coming on it. So it has been in bloom for months. It continues to push out 1, 2, and 3 blooms at a time, and it's growing like a weed. So it's getting enough light. It's really happy finally, and the blooming is, I believe, the proof in the pudding for that, because I really struggled with this plant in the tent. I don't think it was happy. It wasn't moist enough, and it surely wasn't getting enough light. Same thing with the Masdevallia exquisita. I don't know if you can tell this, but look at this absolute barrage of new growths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, we have 7 or 8 new growths. I've got 2 or 3 more starting at the base. This thing should be an absolute spectacle once it decides to start blooming again later in the year. Anyhow, that's my update, guys. I really just wanted to have a chat and a quick look around at all these plants and talk about this light a bit, because it really has made a huge difference. The light saturation in this tank is phenomenal. I know it looks a little bit dark in the bottom, but it really is not. The camera does play quite a bit of tricks, so it is exactly what it needs to be right now, at least so far. And I believe I've solved the overlighting problem, again, without having to crank this thing all the way up to the ceiling and lose all the positive effects down below here. Again, when it comes to tents and tanks, get creative. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but a little bit of cut shade cloth from my window curtain that I use and put on the back side of this tank, pretty much bisecting it almost directly in half, has hopefully solved another issue and made all these plants happy. I know for sure it's made me happy, because it's given me another zone of light to utilize to grow in my tank. So another thing to think about in the tank and tent life. Anyhow, that's my video for today, guys. Again, thank you so much for joining in. I hope you liked it. Please go ahead and check out Spiderfarmer if you guys are interested in any kind of grow lights or grow equipment. They have tons and tons of stuff. If you grow veggies, if you grow cannabis, if you grow orchids, whatever you may grow, they do have a solution for something. I've looked at the site and I've seen a lot of products that look really cool. I'm going to start testing out here in the near future, I believe. So anyhow, guys, that's my video for today. That's my first review for the Spiderfarmer SF-300 LED grow light. Right now I'm giving this thing a 9 out of 10 rating. I really do like it. So far it is fantastic. So please check them out. Again, I have the links to their stores below in my description for all the countries that they provide products to. So any of you guys out there, anywhere, can hopefully check this out and maybe get your hands on some of their stuff if you guys are looking to try it. Again, they have all kinds of stuff that suits all kinds of growing needs, from orchids all the way to vegetable gardening to the cannabis market, you name it. They have products that will cover you for all of it. Anyhow, that's all for today. Thanks again for joining, and until next time, as always, please stay safe and happy growing.